Wow. How's that for an intro, ladies and gentlemen? Hope you're ready to buckle in and enjoy the ride into the uncharted realm of the Paranormal Portal, which includes all the paranormal goodness that you can handle. I think it's all I can handle, so I'm just assuming we're birds of a feather. But hope you guys are doing great. Good to see you all piling in. As always, it's an incredible pleasure to be here doing the shows and to have your attention. I don't know what I did to earn it, but your devotion is not lost on me. I will say that. So hope the weekend's going good. It was a beautiful day here, so I mean, that's a good start. I don't know. What else? Anything else? Well, thanks to everybody that tuned in last night as we, Sheldon and I, showcased the historic Davenport Hotel investigation in Spokane, Washington, the video that we had compiled. And, it was a great experience being there. It's a great experience making the video. And it's a great pleasure to release it to you guys and show you what we saw. And, you can see how we captured it. And, hopefully you feel we did an okay job. It was our debut effort. As far as an investigation video, there was one before it again, but it still needs a lot of work, and I don't know if it'll ever truly see the light of day. But we've had a great time doing it, and I had a good time last night, kind of giving you the walkthrough of the experience. Things that weren't talked about on the video, the behind the scenes stuff, and some really cool experiences we had. So. I will say, I was thinking, well, maybe that'll help get the video some attention. But earlier today, maybe a couple hours ago, I looked and it's like, I think it got 4 more views. 4 more views. What does it say? It says gray. Well, no, I'm not feeling gray at all. I'm feeling quite sunny indeed. I don't know what gray is referring to, but GRAY is what the ghost radar is spitting out at us. So there you have it. So, as I mentioned last night, there's no co-host tonight. It's just me and all of you. So you guys are my co-host. You guys are helping to drive the ship. How you doing, HB Girl to you or Lucky Gypsy? I'm sure Lucky Gypsy's over on Twitch. Yes, she is. Thank you so much, Lucky Gypsy, for helping me keep an eye on things. Not that there's a whole lot going on Twitch. Maybe someday things will go on Twitch, but so far it's been real quiet. I'm just really tickled that Rumble's starting to, take off and that people are joining. We've met a new friend over there on Rumble. Taipan007 is been with us pretty regularly. I don't think you've missed yet since you found the show. So very cool to have you here. And Taipan also joined the Discord community, which is awesome. And you'll hear their take on the question of the week when we get to that after the news, which we'll get to in just moments. And then we'll just dive into articles and discussions, whatever. If you guys want to bring something, what happened to Longbeard? Well, nothing happened to him. He was here Wednesday. Don just comes in on Wednesdays now. And generally speaking, Sheldon co-hosts with me on Fridays. And when he can make it, Jimmy Cipriano joins me on Saturdays. And we've had a lot of fun. All 3 of those guys are great guys, and I have a lot of fun with them on here. Don's just, his real life happening too, and he's got a full-time gig on top of this, and lots of things going on in his world, so he just can't make it over here all the time. But he's on Wednesday shows, so by all means, too fun. So you must be someone that's familiar with the show, obviously, because nobody new comes in and goes, "Hey, where's Longbeard?" So I don't know if this is a new name or what, but it's great to see you. Thanks for coming in and checking out the show. And the name again is Tufan Kilink, Kilinc, and that's over on YouTube. So wonderful to meet you. I always like seeing new names pop up, even if they're attached to old personalities, not meaning old by age, but, it's just nice to see people coming back and coming in. But great to see you all so far tonight. Not just so far tonight, but just great to see you tonight. And we're going to get to the news here in moments. I'm trying to think if I had anything else I wanted to mention tonight Oh, did I mention? I think we got like 4 views. Yeah, I think I mentioned that. I'm getting old. Like things go in and out of my head all the time when I'm hosting. So, I mean, obviously I got to work hard to keep pushing, the interest in this stuff. As far as like the investigation videos, it's obviously a brand new foray for the Paranormal Portal. It's an idea that I've had for a long time, and I've done investigations and filmed some of them, but there is more of those videos coming. I'm just hoping that, people enjoy them. And I know many of you have been wonderful. Thank you so much for the comments and the support and love, all the questions from last night, or, the ones that we caught. I don't know if there was a ton of them, but thank you for your kind words. You pronounce my name perfectly. Thank you, amigo. Muy bien. I appreciate that. Yeah, too fun killing. That's cool. I'm glad I pronounced it right, because I usually brutalize in lots of different words throughout the course of the show. But I'm glad you love the show. Thank you so much. And I'm thrilled you're here. So I hope you continue to enjoy the shows. And by all means, get subscribed if you're not already. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it on the front end. So without any delay, let's get to the news and find out just what I've curated for your benefit. Good to see you, Maggie. I should say hello to everybody. I said hello to those on Rumble, but Maggie's here. Dan Sheehan's here. Let's get on to something good. I'm running out of beer. What do you need to hear, Dan? You gotta let me know what's goes good with beer, or with your beer. Because, some people are ghost people. Some people are UFO people. I was just watching the Missing 411 type documentary on the British Columbia Triangle, and some of the places people have gone missing are right in my backyard. One place is my favorite hunting spot. Well, jeez, be careful up there, Yeah, the Missing 411 stuff is incredibly creepy, and I'm sure that all of you are pretty well aware of that. Of course, the term was championed by David Paulides, who is a retired police officer, and has devoted a lot of his time and energy into researching missing people in the national park system. Was where it kind of started, and it's since just expanded to a global thing, where people just go missing. And some, there's some pretty specific criteria of that phenomena. Like in many cases, tracking dogs won't track; they refuse. They will not track. There are groups of people walking along, and suddenly someone in the group just goes missing, and nobody saw it happen. Nobody saw them walk away. It's just they're gone. There's so many weird things about that. And oftentimes, if a body is recovered, it's recovered like an impossible distance away, usually without shoes or socks, and some of this really inhospitable terrain. And, that people just wouldn't go barefoot. I love going barefoot, and I wouldn't go barefoot on a mountain. Hell no. But these people are found just in strange circumstances, if they're found at all. Some just continue to go missing. So I think the Missing 411 stuff is pretty intense. And yeah, be careful up there, Chucky, for sure. 411 and biker plantations. Oh. I don't know what biker plantations mean. Only saw one Missing 411. It was a touch disturbing. Yeah, it is. And it's a series of books. There are some videos that David Paulides has done and movies about the subject matter. But the hunting spot is on difficult terrain. Yeah. It's who knows what's out there in these woods? I guess, if there's one big takeaway from these shows, it's that I think we're surrounded by an entire universe of things that we're just not aware of. Maybe we can't see them. Maybe it's not because they're ghosts or invisible, but maybe it has more of a physics to it. Like there are things that exist that are outside our color spectrum, the ability to perceive with our, optical nerves. There's things they could make sound outside of our audio spectrum. There's so much. And then there's the idea of frequency, that matter is in a state of frequency. Well, the matter we perceive is in our shared frequency. But what if there's matter also here, and that may make up beings that we can't perceive because it's out of phase with us. It's out of our frequency range. So it's all about vibration and frequency, right? That's what Tesla said. If you want to understand the universe, focus on vibration and frequency. Well, that could be a big part of it. But anyway, food for thought. There's a lot of missing 411 on YouTube. There is, you're right. Yeah. And that's the thing I've often been asked, hey, are you going to get David Paulides on the show? And honestly, I think David Paulides is incredibly interesting, but he's done a gajillion interviews. And honestly, I don't know what I could ask him or, what I could pose to him that he hasn't answered 1,000 times already, So I don't know that I could have a unique interview with David Paulides. And that's not that maybe that's not the case for several other guests I've had, but I've just thought about it. It's like, what would I ask him that he hasn't already answered or that everybody doesn't already know? So I don't know, unless I could get him to talk more editorially about his own personal opinions. But he just presents the facts. And, it's up to you, the listener or reader or the viewer, to come to your own conclusions. So, yeah, very cool. Yep. Anyway, let's get Glimmer. Could be aura. Yeah, it could be. You're right. The Glimmer Man. Is that what you're talking about, Mary? The Glimmer Man phenomena, which are these basically, I don't want to say transparent, but almost prismatic or translucent beings that are walking around that look humanoid, but they look like the cloaked predators, and we've covered that several times on the show. What's the difference between the people of Dubai? What's the difference between the people of... I thought I better read it ahead of time because it's like, oh, man, this could be a trap. No offense, Dan. What's the difference between the people of Dubai and Abu Dhabi? The people of Dubai don't like the Flintstones, but the Abu Dhabi do. That's funny. Yabba dabba doo. Yeah, I got you. That's cute. Cute joke. All right. Hey, Cool Hand, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. I was going to say hello and I get sidetracked. David Zeismer's in here. Chucky Danger, Dan Sheehan. Jesse Garcia's in here. Good to see you, Jesse. Chucky Danger is still here. He's also here. Batman's here. I'm looking for names I haven't read. Wizard Moon, Rachel gets it right. John Temperin, Barbara Mora is over on YouTube and in Rumble. David Zeismer, I think I might have said you twice. Annie Manuel, of course, I mentioned you earlier. Mary Wins. And, boy, we got a lot of chat going on already. Well, anyway, we'll probably do official shout-outs later. It gets a little hard to try to track the chat. So nice you shout me out twice. Well, Chucky, you're so good I had to name you twice, brother. That's just how it works. All right. So let's get to the news and find out what we've gathered for your enjoyment. All right, we're going in, folks. Hang on. Hey, why should you never trust an atom? Because they make everything up. It's just the lamest jokes. I can't help it. They're funny. I try to have a family-friendly show here, so that's why you get all this stuff. The only news I trust, John Stevenson says. All right, it's Chucky Dangert. That's what Eric Fry says. All right, wow. Maggie, a little critical, aren't we? Jeez. All right, I'll admit that was plenty dry, but it's kind of cute. I did give myself a rim shot, but there it is. But you couldn't hear it under the theme music. Anyway, sus. All right, well, let's get to the news, ladies and gentlemen. I am Brent Thomas, your anchor here on the Paranormal Portal News, and I'm bringing you breaking news from the interwebs, and we're going to dive into some of these stories right now. And the first story up on our News Fest of Fun is coming from an amazing site, which I hope you guys will support this and all of the sites that we use. Give them some traffic, give them some love and support, because they're working hard to provide these amazing sites and all of the expensive bandwidth that goes along with it. So definitely stop into these sites and give them some traffic, which equals revenue, because every site has ads and that's how they pay the bills. Otherwise, it would just be a bad business model. So anyway, the site that I'm talking about is unexplained-mysteries.com. And they bring us our first story. And this, oddly enough, it's under the occult. Like literally the occult. But it has to do with NASA. So let's see what it says. All right. From unexplained-mysteries.com. And I should put the right button. Jeez. NASA makes major announcement about Mars sample return mission. Really? Major change is afoot regarding NASA's plans to return samples of Martian soil and rock to the Earth. The ambitious mission, which has been in the works for years, was to have involved a multi-stage process, beginning with the Perseverance rover, which has been collecting promising samples for future pickup and analysis. The second mission, due to launch before the decade is out, was to then see a spacecraft land on the surface, pick up the samples, and then return to orbit, where it would rendezvous with a third spacecraft. Yeah, geez, that is ambitious. The final step would have seen this spacecraft leave Mars, return the samples to Earth. There is one snag, however. It doesn't look like this plan is actually going to work. Yesterday, NASA revealed that its current budget would make such a series of missions impossible to achieve before 2040. This is the part where they ask for money, and why is it in the occult section? I don't know. Prompting the space agency to look for a different solution to the problem. Well, that's good. Maybe they should do the railgun launching like China's working on to push their spaceships into space. Maybe they should launch those samples up, and then something just orbiting will pick them up. It says the bottom line is that 11 billion is too expensive, and not returning samples until 2040 is unacceptably too long, said NASA Administrator Bill Nelson. As things stand, the sample caches have been collected by the rover, but finding a way to actually pick them up and return them to the Earth is going to need some out-of-the-box thinking. Just call Elon. He'll go get them. I mean, jeez. Elon probably swinging by there anyway, looking for asteroids or something. As such, NASA is now calling on scientists and industry professionals to help coming up with a new, more budget-friendly solution to collect and return the samples. We're looking at out-of-the-box possibilities that could return the samples earlier and at a lower cost, said Dr. Nicola Fox, director of NASA's Science Directorate. This is definitely a very ambitious goal, and we're going to need to go after some very innovative new possibilities for design, and certainly leave no stone unturned, because it's soil samples. I like what they did there. With any luck, an affordable solution will be found in the not-too-distant future. Well, there you go. They're looking for ways to bring that stuff home. Why is that under the occult? I have no idea. That was a misfile, I think, on unexplained-mysteries.com. But at any rate, it's not necessarily occult, although, occult literally means like hidden knowledge. So they got hidden knowledge in the space programs. There's no question about that. But anyway, officially, they're doing it the old-fashioned way. So that's the first piece of news. You can probably donate to NASA. You can donate to the dirt missions from Mars. I don't know. There's probably been dumber investments, right? Okay, let's go to the next one. And this one is also unexplained-mysteries.com, ladies and gentlemen, which brings us this article. And this one's from creatures, myths, and legends of all things. So, all right, let's check it out. Fisherman found guilty of unaliving man who had summoned Bigfoot. I think we covered this story a long time ago that some guy went out with an acquaintance of some kind that claimed he could summon Bigfoot, and then he yelled and did his yells and stuff, and the other guy said he went missing. And so let's see what's going on. It says the bizarre murder trial, which took place in Pontotoc County, Oklahoma, concerned a Bigfoot-related unaliving. Back in July 2022, we reported on the bizarre case of a man who had been unalived, who had unalived his friend because he believed that he had summoned Bigfoot and had intended to feed his body to the creature. The incident had occurred along the South Canadian River in Pontotoc County, Oklahoma. The South Canadian River. I didn't know there was a Canadian river in Oklahoma. Okay. Where the two men, both 53, had been noodling. I think they were doing a little more than noodling. A form of fishing using only hands. And yeah, you ever see those videos? It's like, wow, those people are absolutely bold. I'd end up with a snapping turtle or something and pull back a stump and be like, oh, God. They stick their hands in these big, underwater crevices and they pull out these lunkers. And it's like, yeah, I don't know how they don't lose digits and stuff. Like, there was no fish. It was a snapping turtle. But anyway, let's continue. According to the reports, Jesus, what is with these ads? Sorry about the ads. I don't currently shop for bras and never plan to, but apparently, apparently that's what's going hot on the ads tonight. According to reports, one of the men had become convinced that his friend had intended to summon Bigfoot from the forest, kill him, and then float his body down the stream as food for the creature. Suffice to say, there have been some drugs involved. Wow, this is my surprise face. Really? Yeah, probably. He appeared to be under the influence of something, Sheriff John Christian said at the time. Now, following a trial in Oklahoma, the defendant, Larry Sanders, has been charged with the first-degree murder of Jimmy Knighton. I guess that's Knighton, yeah. During a methamphetamine-induced psychosis. He now faces life in prison without any possibility of parole. Yeah, being in your 50s and going to prison is a bad start, I think. I don't think there's a lot of sunshine left for you, unfortunately. And that's tragic in a number of ways. But, I have to ask myself, have I dabbled in my distant past with substances? Sure. And a lot of us have, but we never had things like meth, ever. I mean, I remember the crack epidemic was like, what? You do it once and you're hooked for life. It's like, why the hell would you do it once? Why? If that's the case, why dip your toe in that pool? But meth is like, it's like stupid multiplied by a factor of 10 or something. It's like, at what point do you look in the mirror and go, I'm just really not happy and I don't really need teeth. What do you need teeth for? So I don't know, but you see those before and after pictures of what that stuff does to people. And it's like, not only does it just, I mean, God only knows what you're ingesting, because it's like a Franken soup of chemicals and weird, I don't know, pharmaceuticals and things mixed, and God only knows. But it's just this horrible, nightmarish stuff. But at what point do you decide, I'd rather just feel hyper than have teeth and a nice complexion at all, or, I just don't get that. Who doesn't need teeth? I like pudding. Well, that's what you're looking forward to, meth boys. I'm just saying. There it is. Yep. And then you end up doing stupid stuff like murdering your friend who's summoning Bigfoot because you've got some kind of twisted logic cooking. Yeah, that sounds like nothing but a party. Anyway, I don't know. Kind of stuff is so disturbing. It's like, where do you get to that point? Where do you get to that point that becomes a good idea? It's like, well, I got the weekend off. Let's cook up some meth. Oh, God. I'd like some oozing sores and rotting teeth, please. Yeah, that'd be great. Man, people are all kinds of twisted. I guess maybe it's more a testament to the modern day, and that's like the only out people can see. But God, start meditating or something. Live well, live as well as you can, and when the race is over, hopefully then it's a happy thing. But I don't know, just some strange stuff. I see a Sasquatch and bras on No Help. Yeah, I know. I don't know what's up with that ad, but that's not reflective of my browsing because I don't shop for bras. I currently haven't needed any. So, yeah, weird. El Caminos are the vehicle. Oh, El Camino. You mean CAM, El Camino? Those like car pickups from the 70s. Those things were awesome. I used to love those. El Caminos. But they're a vehicle of what? Tommy, you didn't finish your sentence. Tommy Cooper, ladies and gentlemen. A great man. Very cool man. All right. Let's go. Of course, Tommy is one of the hosts of Cryptovania. He and Jason Trost, which is another great guy. They're wonderful guys. Hey, whatever makes you happy, Brent. I'm not judging, man. Currently, it's not a bra. A bra is not what makes me happy, but if that ever changes, thank you for the support. A bra. Get it? Support? Tried to give myself a rim shot and missed the button. Anyway, just dumb humor night here on the portal. All right. I think that was it for the news, and that's probably enough, to be honest with you. I don't know. There's some broken people in the world, and God only knows why or what's going on. I'm watching you about 23 minutes behind y'all. Well, that's okay, Flyer Tuck. It's just good to have you here. Well, however you watch or whenever you watch, it is a time anomaly here, so that's okay. You're in for some good news. Anyway, this is going to wrap up the news portion of our show tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It's been around since 1893. Oh, what did they use it for in 1893? A lot of people had bad teeth, I guess, then, but I didn't think it was because of meth. They just didn't sleep. I don't know. Maybe it was too cold to sleep. You just, cook up some meth, honey. I'm getting cold. Meth was an antidepressant. Wow. I think, is it the same version that we have now? Because I'd be plenty depressed if I took that stuff. I'd be all kinds of depressed and regretting my life decisions greatly. Fun facts by Rachel. Yeah, no kidding, Chucky. Or maybe they tweaked it. They used Coke and heroin also for meds. Yeah, that's true. Coca-Cola had Coke in it. And, that was long before my time, but apparently I think in the 50s, the thing people used to think is if you drank a Coke and took 2 aspirin, you could get a good zing out of it. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was a legend I heard. Being a man that basically my beverage of choice through my life was Coca-Cola, I could appreciate that history. Not that I wanted to have cocaine Coca-Cola, but just that, it's a piece of trivia. So anyway, that was the news. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's get back to the rest of the show. Oh, yeah, Batman. There you go. Interestingly enough, I think there's merit to that. I would say that I think during the Vietnam War, they also the U.S. distributed like speed to soldiers just to keep them alert. And maybe I don't know what kind of stress or strain they were under. I can't imagine that kind of hell, but maybe that was the only thing keeping them going, was that they were hopped up on that stuff. But yeah, crazy stuff. I'd probably sobbing and tell everyone I love them. Good thing I don't do drugs. Well, Karen, you are a loving soul, so that makes sense. Ian Chucky says, missing all those teeth, people might misunderstand what you're saying and think you're good at math. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, there you go. There might be that. You might develop a bit of a lisp, but you never know. Highly caffeinated chocolate too in World War II. I believe that. I can see this is going to become a drug discussion of some kind. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think even ecstasy was used as like for struggling couples as a marital aid. And I think is where that started out, believe it or not. And I guess it would make people pretty happy for a while. I've never obviously had any experience with that, but I've heard that it's pretty wild. I'm just saying. Not that I'm advocating this stuff at all, ladies and gentlemen, just to make that clear. I don't use anything. I barely even have a drink of alcohol ever. I just, I just too damn busy. I don't got no time. I ain't got no time to bleed. So there you go. Happy Snoop Dogg Day. Yeah. What is this for? It is, isn't it? It's 420. How the hell about that? It's 420. I didn't think about that. Huh. And here we are. We just get into the drug talk. Maybe you guys knew it, but I did not know it. I didn't even put that together until right now. I was like, wait, it's 420. And why are we talking about drugs? That does explain a lot. You're right, Ron. That does. I have wine and beer, but to cook with. Yeah, there you go. I like a beer, don't get me wrong, on a hot summer day or something. That's just about as refreshing as it gets. You get done mowing the lawn and you're all sweaty and hot and you just grab an ice cold beer. Oof, just slides down. It's like liquid magic. But, I'm very, 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 very occasional on any consumption of alcohol. So I just don't do things. I don't know. Maybe it's just getting old. Maybe I'm just old. I don't know. Yeah, exactly, Wizard. That's exactly right. I did enough stupid stuff when I was young that I guess I've been there. I've been there and dipped my toes in the pools of bad choices, and you live and learn. But anyway, let's get on with the rest of the show. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move to our Discord question of the week because it's Saturday night. And this is the question of the week night here on the Paranormal Portal. So we got a good one cooking up here tonight. I see Rachel just weighed in not too long ago, right under the wire. So very cool. And Chucky asked a really unique question. And I find this subject fascinating because it has to do with the moon. And the moon is full of curiosity, I guess, really. There's some who claim the moon is actually potentially millions of years older than the Earth itself. Now, I think it's the Cherokee, and I could be wrong. I could be misquoting which First Nations tribe this was, but they have a legend of the time before the moon. And apparently it's part of their oral traditions that they were there and saw that the moon came suddenly. Now, what you may or may not know, and this is stuff that I learned just looking into it, maybe a few years ago, but the orbit of our moon is very atypical. It doesn't usually go the direction that ours goes. All the natural satellites or moons have a different orbital pattern. The other thing that's very unusual is the size of our moon in comparison to the host planet Earth. Most moons are much, much smaller than their planetary counterpart. There's lots of questions about it. Then, of course, there's the tests NASA did dropping, fuel cells and stuff and having them hit the surface and being able to record resonance like a ringing bell. Obviously, there was no sound because there's no oxygen to relay the sound, but there was seismographs that were placed on the moon, and they could record the vibration of that impact, and it carried on for, I think, up to an hour after the actual tests were done. So we never see the other side of the moon. That's true. That's another thing that's a bit atypical, I think. Now, it's not actually a dark side of the moon. It's just that we don't see it. The moon that we see is the same side of the moon as it continues to circle. So it has a very atypical, there's a lot of atypical things about our moon. Some of it may be subjective and just theory, but other things are clearly different from the observable universe, even our own solar system. You know, when we look at other planetary bodies, their moons and the behaviors of their moons, they seem to be very consistent, except for our moon. So take it or leave it. I'm not saying that there is something askew, but there is questions. And to ignore that, I think is not scientific. All right. So let's get into this. This is Discord question of the week, ladies and gentlemen. And special thanks to Chucky Danger for putting this together. He's been championing the question of the week now for quite a while, and doing an exceptional job. And it really means the world to me. So thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And this is all his work. So we've got several people had weighed in on it tonight. So let's get to those responses and see what's going on. But first, we got to do this. All right, now the next thing, we'd love to have you join our Discord community. If you haven't already, if you're not familiar with Discord, don't worry. This is what the Discord looks like, this window here. And honestly, it's not too bad once you figure it out. But basically, these are different servers. This is Hometown Ghost Stories. This is Yowie Central. There's the Paranormal Portal. So when you join servers, you get a new ball over here on the left. So if you want to go to different groups and talk to different, communities, you can do that. Here is the Paranormal Portal server, and here's the different threads. And essentially, the welcome is the news, donations, and rules, which there aren't really many. Just be respectful. That's kind of about it. But we do have a Portal Marketplace, and that is where the link for our Paranormal Portal gear is, our Teespring, or Spring, they call it now. I guess they needed to change the name. But that is available if you guys are interested and want to get Portal gear. That's where you get it. It's also in the show description on YouTube and Rumble. But there's crystals and jewelry that is provided by some of our Discord members. And there's other miscellaneous stuff from other members that are, if you have anything for sale, feel free to post it in the marketplace here. It's perfectly fine. If you need another thread created, like you make something that's very unique and you don't think it fits into this other stuff, then just let us know and we can add a new one. There's the giveaways. When I do t-shirt giveaways every month on the Discord, they happen here. Watch for those announcements. There's a Discord tutorial for those of you that are new. You can click here and watch some videos and learn a little bit more about how to use Discord. And once you learn it, it's very, very basic. And when you join, you're going to be brought to the general tab here. I did want to point this out since we brought it up. This is the creepiest damn thing. And this is all thanks to Mr. Chucky Danger himself, who's one of our Discord admins. And he posted this. Now, you're in a tent, and you see this. Oh, Jesus. What the hell is that? Oh, dear God. That's just frightening. So thank you, Chucky, for that nightmare fuel. We need more of that in the portal, obviously. No, that's crazy. I just wanted to showcase that because that was so creepy. So creepy. And Charlotte posted a joke. To know if ghosts think you're a good singer or not, you just have to listen for any boos. Whoa. Absolutely perfect portal humor right there, ladies and gentlemen. So, there you go. Yeah, it does remind me of Edgar Allan Poe, too. Looks like the Lorna or whatever. The old women that can transform into birds. All right, but we're talking about the Discord question of the week. And that's right here. And here's Chucky's question, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get into it. Find out what you guys had to say. And again, the topic is the moon. So, all right, question of the week. There are plenty of theories about the origin and composition of the moon. And lately there's been some strange orientations of the moon phases. And what do you think the moon is? And have you noticed anything strange about the moon? Now, our good friend, Mr. Naysay, who's our brother from Minnesota, he's a wonderful Anishinaabe tribal member, but he's always researched the moon and has some incredible theories himself. And I wish he was here, actually. He could go on and on about this, and it's pretty crazy. If you ever watched any of the episodes that he was in, Naysay has been a longtime friend of the show, and you can find those in the back catalog on YouTube. They're not synced up anywhere else. Maybe on BitChute, but I'm not sure. I know that Rumble and YouTube don't play together anymore, so everything has to be done manually. All right, so John T weighs in first and says, only the man looks grumpier. Yeah, well, yeah, that's because he's made out of cheese, I think. I'm just saying. Aussie Tiger comes in and says, the moon is a space station. That's a theory I've heard too, that some people say that when the Apollo astronauts got there, they weren't alone. There were other vehicles and stuff up there apparently, and maybe they are the ones that brought the moon and just kind of made it a station to keep an eye on us. I don't know. Taipan 007, who's our Rumble friend, and Taipan says, I think it's densely cavernous. Maybe why it's able to take the meteor strikes the way it does and reverberate the sound waves. I think it has a lot of nickel. Yeah, it could be. I don't know what the composition of the moon is or largely is, or if there's mineral veins in that or heavy metals. I don't know. I mean, I suppose probably chances are there are, but yeah, it's very interesting. Trace Linnell comes in and says, my theory is every time it rings like a bell, physics as we know it tells us there must be an equal and opposite reaction. So does the vibration cause it to shift, or does Earth and sun magnetism keep it securely in position? Where did those vibrations go when it rang like a bell? Well, like anything else, I mean, it's a mass being vibrated by an impact. So essentially the energy from the impact manifested as a vibration, but the energy was dissipated by vibrating the matter of the moon, whether it's, a solid or if it's particulate or whatever. So it's interesting. But yeah, great questions, great thought. Artemis Rex comes in and says, I believe that scientists have given us an ample evidence to prove that the moon is just another celestial body that was caught up in Earth's gravitational pull. Its origins are a bit more mysterious because it could have been an asteroid or even another planet before it became our moon. While I do love the paranormal and conspiracy theories are really fun, science should always prevail. After all, the paranormal is simply things that science hasn't been able to explain yet. If there have been changes to the moon, I think that those changes would be due to the effect that humans have had on everything we touch. The amount of space debris that has floated around our planet would shock the average person. It wouldn't surprise me if some of the debris has begun to damage the moon. We know the moon's gravity is strong enough to have an effect on Earth, like the tides, and it wouldn't be difficult for a dead satellite to eventually get pulled in by the moon's gravity and leave a mark in a similar fashion that a meteorite hitting the Earth would damage the surface. I'm learning to break up my ADHD text block for Jimmy. Well, that's good. I appreciate that for me as well, Artemis. But yeah, it's those are good thoughts. Now, the only thing I would say is that, generally speaking, satellites are in a very low orbit. And while, I suppose it is possible that some could be impacted or have problems and be cast out deeper and maybe grabbed by the moon. Generally speaking, when satellites fail, they just fall back into Earth's gravity just because that's the major gravitational force interacting with them, because they're just constantly falling around the gravity well of the Earth. So it's interesting. And he comes in again and says, I do think the moon produces its own energy fields because everything in the universe does. And typically the larger the object is, the more energy that it is able to produce. What that energy is, besides things we know, like gravity and magnetic fields, we won't find out until our scientists discover more advances. We do know that indigenous nations and polytheistic faiths have all been able to tap into the energies of the moon, and that is enough historical evidence for me to believe that those energies exist. Oh, esoterically, for sure. I think everything has a unique energy field and an esoteric energy, for sure. And certainly, I think that, energy follows intention. So, whether through ritual or whatever, it's possible to tap into the energies of things and maybe direct them. I'm just putting it out there. But I don't think you're wrong. I just think it's a great idea. Good thoughts. Barbara Mora comes in next, says, I've thought often that the moon is a natural feature and has developed as a waypoint for several extraterrestrial species that have used this planet's natural resources. Humans were not the first on the moon. Yeah, I don't think so. I also think that many species using the moon have treaties or agreements between themselves as well as governments on the Earth. Yeah. I mean, that could very well be. I don't know how big the playing field is, but I have no doubt that it's got to be bigger than what we're led to believe by a long shot. Karen Alberding comes in and said, I've always thought, once I was older anyway, that the moon was part of the Earth created when some event happened. Who knows how many millions of years ago, and pieces of Earth broke off, and as a result, one of the fragments became the moon, caught up in the gravitational pull of the Earth, and the moon became the shapes that they are known as now, and the other fragments became asteroids and space dust and such as that, I suppose. I read something about that at one time or another and may have botched the description up, but but that's the kind of general list of what I read. Yeah, that's a prevailing scientific theories that the moon was somehow cast off of a forming Earth. Yeah, I've read that as well. I want to say National Geographic or Scientific American or something like that, and sorry for the long run-on sentence, and anyway, I feel that the moon is probably that. And it could just be, you're absolutely right, it could just be that it was just part of the Earth's mantle that maybe broke off for whatever reason. Maybe there was an interaction with something else. I mean, the Kuiper Belt got there, which is Kuiper Belt is basically an asteroid belt that surrounds our sun, and it's out in not too far away from Earth. So something got destroyed there, and it was enough of a something that it created an asteroid belt that actually circles the sun, and so that's a hell of a big thing. So was that a planet, and could there have been an impact that maybe interacted with an early forming Earth that spun off the moon and created that destruction in its wake? I don't know. Just, it could be. All right, so Rachel 101 comes in and says, there's a theory that, okay, Karen Alberding says again, I guess I should have explained that even being a collision of some sort with another large space body, plus the moon has many of the same characteristics as the Earth, so that would, in a way, make sense. Sure. It could very well be. I don't know that, basically speaking, I mean, all planets are and I could be wrong. I guess I shouldn't say this at all because I don't know for sure, but I think a lot of solid planets, not the gas giants and stuff, but the solid planets are probably pretty similar in their makeup between Mercury, Venus, and Earth, and Mars probably have very similar building blocks. I don't know about the more distant planets like Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, which I still say is a planet. I'm not buying the whole it's not a planet anymore thing. It was a planet all my life until somebody just got too smart for their own pants or something. But anyway, yeah, I think it's probably similar. So, all right, now we're going to go to Rachel. There's a theory that a Mars-sized planet, Theia, collided with the proto-Earth 4.42 billion years ago. Part of it broke off and gradually formed into the moon, and now it's a vital part of life on Earth and protector from some space impacts and regulator of the waters, tides. The moon, like Earth, is who we are. I haven't noticed anything strange about the moon. Oh, fair enough. And yeah, it could just be like that again. I'm certainly, again, there's no wrong answers. We just don't know. Now, prevailing science would say, no, it's definitely just made this way because there's a hubris involved. But we don't have ego here in the show. We just talk about ideas. David Zeismer is the last coming in and says, it's a layover place for aliens to stop before coming to Earth to visit. Yeah, exactly. It's like the moon's probably like the Walmart on the fringe of town. It's where they stop off and grab snacks before they come down to the planet here. You never know. But anyway, great thoughts, everybody. It's an interesting topic. Again, I'm paraphrasing a lot of things here, and I apologize if I'm wildly inaccurate. But I mean, you got to question everything, I think, because who knows? Who really knows? And when you think about science, oftentimes we give this mantle of science such prestige, and they've done incredible things, don't get me wrong, and advancements in technology and sciences are exciting and scary and terrifying and hopeful all at the same time. But these are still human beings. The scientists are still people, and people are fallible. I mean, it's just the way it goes. We base our scientists or our sciences on what we think we know. And so that what we think we know becomes concrete, and we form ideas and models and theories and hypotheses about it. And that becomes what we understand as science. Now, I think in a lot of ways we're probably on the right track, but I think there's a lot more that science is actively ignoring. And I think that that's the tragic part of it, because it becomes a hubris. Science becomes hubris, and that arrogance is stifling our ability to grow and learn. We just, truly scientific method would allow for any and all ideas until things can be accurately and testedly disproven. And if they can't be, they still have to be possible. So that's my take on it. But anyway, folks, this has been the question of the week. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, but let's get to the rest of the show, because there's more. I do love the questions of the week, ladies and gentlemen. I really do. I'm getting a headache. A little bit of a headache right here in my temple. Nothing a little snapping plastic won't help. There we go. There we go. All right. How you guys doing, chat? How y'all doing out there? All right. So the moon is an interesting topic, and we've covered it on the shows in the past, talking about some of the controversy and stuff. And I can dig up some of those articles again, some of the question marks, some of the theories that are out there, and some of them are wild theories. And I don't pretend to have the answers for any of it, but it's interesting to just consider, what if? What if there's a whole lot more going on there than we know? And I think it could be. I find it interesting, all these different thoughts about the moon. Maybe there is a lot of questions. I think we got a ton of questions yet to answer. But that's just me. So I'm watching the chats here. Those of you on YouTube, just know that I'm going to be doing some shout outs here. So I want to do some shout outs before we dive into the next part of the show. And if you guys got questions, the remake of the Time Machine in an event where the moon was shattered was really terrifying scene in the movie. Yeah, that would be horrifying. Because I imagine if the moon was shattered, Probably some of those chunks would be coming our way. And they'd be some pretty huge chunks because our moon is enormous. Very, very big. What would happen if the moon blew up? It's anybody's guess. If it blew up, I don't know. It depends on how big of an explosion. But again, I'm sure some of that shrapnel would be heading to Earth. And God, even small asteroids can cause huge havoc. So I imagine some of it would be enormous and could be, possibly planet killers. So that would be scary. The Time Machine, released in 2002. Shout out. Yes, we're going to do shout outs. As I stated, but over in Rumble, we got Barbara Moore. We got Justin Goodearth hanging out over there. Taipan. And I know HB Girl to You is there as well. She's lingering about. So good to see you guys on Rumble. Thank you so much for those of you that are over there chatting and keeping it warm and loving over there. All right, so we're going to go to YouTube's. Let me look at Twitch. I don't know if anything's going on there. I think it's just Lucky Gypsy and I over on Twitch. I don't see anybody chatting. And I can't see if anybody's watching. I wish they would have that where you could see if somebody's actually watching, but I don't care about that. It gives me these, oh, did you know things? And it's like, I don't want to get into that now. I want to just talk about my shows, about the paranormal. So let's get to the participants. Oh, shoot, I did that wrong. Let me go back. Pop it out first, and then do the participants. So I can stretch out the winder. All right, here we go. Well, we got a few active chatters here so far. If you are chatting in YouTube or just kicking back, but you'd like a shout out, type something in the chat because the participants are all I can see. I can't see everybody that's there, but I can see the handful of people that are chatting. But so far, over on YouTube, we've got Annie Manuel, we've got Chucky Danger, Deb Varner, Elaine Clifford, John Stevenson, John Temprin, Karen Alberding, Maggie M10, I'm there, Rachel Gets It Right, Tommy Cooper's over there, Wizard Moon 13. So there's you over there. Very good. Oh, somebody popped in. Grumpy Owl popped in. Good to see you, Grumpy Owl. Wonderful to have you here. Aussie Tip Rat is here. That's wonderful as well. And did I miss anybody? Boo. Grumpy Owl, boo. You scared me. I'm easily scared. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not easily scared. What the hell was that? Oh. Huh. All right. So anyway, that's the participants as it stands now. Aussie Tip Rat, are you Aussie Tiger? Is this a new name or are you someone else? I know I asked it before, but I didn't see the response, so I'm asking again. So if you could please let me know. But Aussie Tiger has of course been a long time friend of the show as well, and I don't know if you are one and the same or if you're someone else. So anyway, let me know. Okay, we're going to get into some of the weird and wonderful paranormal stuff that we adore here on the show. It's all been weird and wonderful, of course, but let me pull up some stuff. Just they've been in here at the same time before. Oh, Deb says they've been in here at the same time before. Well, then it's a pleasure to meet you. You must be someone new. I appreciate you being here, and thank you so much. I appreciate it a bunch. It's always great to meet new listeners, new people watching and stuff, and it's awesome. That's very awesome. All right, let me get this out here. All right, we're going to try to polish up a Reddit, a Ranker article that we've been going through for a little while. I guess just last show. It's not that long, but it's a good article. Some of it's not paranormal. It's just weird stuff people have experienced. And remote employees' creepy stories from ranker.com. So we're on 7. Yeah, we got quite a ways to go here. But I'll pull up the headline here so you guys can see it. And that is right here. Oh, oops. Rookie move. There we go. All right, hold on, I got a cough. 16 employees share their bone-chilling stories from working in remote places and were creeped out. And this was all aggregated and compiled by Colin Morabito, and this is from October 16th of 2020, in the heart of COVID. So I guess Colin did a good job. His article still survives. Where the hell did my mouse go? There it is. Let's get down here and figure out where we're at. All right. Here's one. I think we did this one, didn't we? Yeah, we did this one. Okay. All right. So we're on number 8, actually. Here you go. All right. Again, these are people working remotely, seeing strange stuff. Again, maybe it's not all paranormal. Maybe not even much of it is. But it's weird, and weird is something we cover here. So here you go, number 8, polar bear guard totems in the tundra. There we go. I think I shook it loose that time, I think. There we go. As a polar bear guard, as in I escort people across the tundra and mountains and protect them from polar bears, I once saw a snowman totem with reindeer antlers coming out of his head. He was deformed, full of bullet holes, and rather creepy. There was one time when I was going to the gym at 6 in the morning because, it's just the gym. I wasn't going to bring a gun. And then I got an alert on my phone saying a bear was in the area. So I decided to stay in bed and eat Maltesers? I'm not sure what that is. It later turned out that the bear was on my route to the gym at the exact time I would have been walking down without a gun. And it was dark and snowy, so I would definitely have been an entree for a bear. And that was by Jalsavra. Redditor Jalsavra. Okay. Yeah, polar bears are no joke. I mean, those are an extraordinarily huge animal, and they're extraordinarily a hungry animal, and God only knows what kind of fate would befall you, but I'm sure it would probably be a pretty swift ending. All right, let's move to number 9. Worker at remote mine site, eyes in the darkness. Now, I don't know how many of you out there have seen that. I will say that obviously anybody that drives has seen the eye shine of some animal thinking about crossing, and sometimes they make a stupid dash for it, and that's always puts you on edge. But some people see these eyes just staring at them, and they it's a very disheartening feeling, I can imagine. Now, I've not experienced it, but my heart goes out to anybody it has, because you're not alone. Something is there, and it's paying attention to you. Now, it could be something as silly as it's a deer, but it could be something as horrible as a dog man, or worse. I mean, you just don't know. All we can see is that their eyes, and what are those eyes connected to, and what are they looking for? That's the scary version. So, and this one comes from Alan Gray, Grai. Working late one night at a remote mine site, changing out a switch in a substation at the edge of the pit, just me and a quiet room full of gently humming transformers. Well, I finish up and head for the door, and I see 3 pair of eyes staring through the window. Nothing else visible, just blackness and 3 sets of red eyes. Oh, God. Turns out goat eyes reflect red at night, and they like staring in windows. Oh, goat eyes. I did not know that. It turns out they reflect red. Well, oftentimes we get these, claims of red eyes shining. Now, I'm not suggesting that it's all goats, but it is interesting that it could be goat eyes. Of course, there's many types of goats, not just the farm agricultural goats. There are mountain goats and other sheep, that probably are very similar. Maybe they reflect red, but it's it's got to be a creepy thing to be going, Yeah, like you're working alone and you get your job done and you go to the door and look out and there's red eyes coming back at you. Oof, that's got to be horrifying. All right, number 10, Alaskan ship crew spotlight through the northern lights. I wonder if that's one of those directed energy weapons. Or a UFO. This is by Redditor Chief Boldface. Working on ships, there was one night I was on a ship sailing through the Alaskan waters, and it happened to be my first night ever seeing northern lights. I can't believe how awesome that was. It made the sky clear. It made the night look like it was dusk, and we were able to see clearly for miles. A few buddies and I hit the roof and what we call Lido deck at 1 a.m. just to gaze at it. An hour or so in, there were 6 of us up on top, nearly the entire crew now. A big white spotlight shines at us. And we were near land, but where the spotlight was above the water, and it wasn't low enough to be a ship. This is very high up. It shined on us for about 15 to 20 seconds. Once the light turned off, we looked to see what it was, and we saw nothing. No trace of an aircraft or anything. A couple of minutes go by, and the same light shined on us. And this time it was on the other side of our vessel, above the mountains. Still unable to see what it was. We all saw it. We all have never seen any aircraft hovering above these waters, especially at 2 a.m. We don't know what it was. We think it might have been some sort of silenced aircraft. The military was probably doing drills or something, but anyway, that was one of the weirder things to happen out in the ocean. That's funny because why, could it be a UFO? Hell yeah, it could be a UFO. I think that's probably very likely. I don't know. I don't know how far the mountains were versus the water, how much distance that was. Yeah, very crazy. But this person could have seen a UFO. All right, let's go to number 11. Worker in the woods, headless doves, and sticks arranged in formations. That's creepy. This is by righteous_meow. I do a lot of work out in the woods. Creepiest thing was finding some headless doves. I also found sticks arranged in circles and paint on the trees in the same spot. Not sure if it was part of a ritual or not, but that's what I saw. I don't know. It sounds kind of ritualistic. I don't know if the dove is a symbol of hope, and obviously the dove returned to Noah with the branch of olive, and so that gave them hope that there was land. But I don't know if it gets used, to desecrate that is considered a dark occult thing. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. They pervert everything they can. All right, number 12, studier of wild orangutans. Crouching clouded leopard waiting to pounce. Oh. All right, from Redditor Lorebeck 521. I spent some time in the peat swamp forests of Borneo studying a wild orangutan. We would go into the forest very early at around 4 a.m., and one morning there was a clouded leopard on the trail we used to enter the forest. He was just crouched there, watching us. We shouted, trying to act big. One of the indigenous people we work with even took out his slingshot and shot rocks at it. It missed, and he missed on purpose, just trying to scare it off. It stayed there for a good 5 minutes, watching us before it slowly walked into the thick brush off the cleared trail. When we walked by, I shined my light to where it had walked to, and could clearly see a pair of reflective eyes, only 3 meters away, crouched, watching us pass. Creepy, but also incredibly cool to see one in person and how critically endangered they are. Yeah, that is cool, I guess. But I don't know how big a clouded leopard is, but is it a risk to humans? Maybe. I don't know. Would they possibly hunt people or just figured, well, you're not food. What are you guys doing here? Curiosity in cats. I mean, even the big cats are curious. So, number 13, oil rig worker. What lurked beneath the sea? Do not engage with me is the Redditor that submitted this. I used to work in the Gulf of Mexico on oil rigs for years, and it may not exactly be creepy, but I found it really unsettling. In deep open water, the water itself is really clear, so everyone can plainly see all the tuna and barracudas hanging around the rig, waiting for the onboard cook to throw off whatever food waste he needs to. Every once in a while, a huge great white shark would swim up from underneath, snatch a tuna, and it really took less than a second. They are really scary. Wow, that is crazy. I didn't know that great whites were in the Gulf of Mexico, but I guess, what the hell do I know? I guess they can be anywhere. All right, number 14, remote camp in Antarctica. Mummified birds. Oh. From Redditor Lakewood Hiker. I spent several seasons working at a remote field camp in Antarctica, over 1,000 kilometers from the main station in McMurdo. And every once in a while, a skua bird or Arctic tern would accidentally end up following one of the small planes, twin otter, out to our camp. Once there, though, they'd basically be stranded with no way to get back to the coast. I get out of my tent for some mornings and see a lonely tern circling overhead, knowing it was a dead bird flying. It was quite creepy. Along these lines, when birds or seals do die down there, it's so cold and dry that their bodies don't decay either. Well, they just essentially mummify. Outside McMurdo at Scott's Discovery Hut, there is still a perfectly preserved seal carcass from 1912 sitting by the entrance of the hut. Wow. Yeah, I guess it's just going to stay frozen. Wow, that is creepy. Number 15. Let me look at the time, see how we're doing. Yeah, we'll move on shortly, but I think we're almost done here. So, Merchant Seaman Mysterious Transmission in the Gulf. This is by Reddit. Reddit is social media. Well, there you go. Merchant Seaman here, nothing particularly creepy. Most of the time you're too focused on not hitting anything, getting position fixes, updating logbooks, etc., to really think about paranormal or spooky stuff. But the closest thing to creepy I've experienced recently has been a strange transmission over the radio. It started with a series of Morse code beeps, followed by an accented female voice listing off random letters and numbers. Don't know what the hell that was all about. What do they call those? There were basically code broadcasts from the Cold War, and I'm trying to think of what they called those stations. There was a term, but they'd basically just be saying random numbers and letters in this huge diatribe, and they were God, what were they called? Anybody out there know? I'm waiting for my chat to kick in and for you guys to tell me, because somebody out there knows this. What were they called, though? I can't remember the name of it. But they were really actually not uncommon, not really common, but they existed usually during the Cold War. Spy transmissions of some kind, yeah, Annie. But there were these stations where that would happen. There would just be a random quick jingle, and then they'd be like B, 12, 48, A, 6. So hard not to make a joke out about this title. What was the question? What are those code stations that were real common during the Cold War or occurred during the Cold War? But they were broadcast on maybe shortwave or even regular radio. But there were these weird stations that just would kind of occur, and they were considered to be, spies transmitting code so that, which would be information. But I can't remember what those stations were called. Gal. Somebody Google it or something. Give it to me. Number stations. There you go, Annie. Thank you. Yeah, they were called number stations. That's right. Yeah. So it sounds like maybe I don't know when this happened, but It sounds like it was one of those. Here's number 16 and the last one, apparently. Guard duty in Kabul, noises in the dark. And this is from Redditor Sasquatch Achu. Sasquatch Achu. I was on guard duty in Camp Phoenix on the outskirts of Kabul in 2011, and it's a 12-hour shift, and it started at 7 p.m. Around 2 a.m., I could hear what sounded like footsteps running all around the guard tower, promptly setting my hairs on end. So I pull out my night vision and pray that it's some kids or something. I kid you not. There must have been 2 or 3 pair of dogs loving each other at the same time. Well, is it paranormal? No. No, it's not. It's not just the birds and the bees, apparently, ladies and gentlemen. It can be the dogs, too. There you go. There you go. That was a good article, though. Entertaining, I think, right? I mean, it's kind of different. But, you know, I guess they need loving too, right? And they probably make noise. I don't know how that works, but I'm not really familiar with the mating traditions of different animals. There we go. Okay, so we are going to get on to the cryptids, ladies and gentlemen, because by God, we got cryptids to get to. And when we got cryptids to get to, we hit 2 sites. Sasquatch Chronicles blog and Phantoms and Monsters Radio. 2 of the champions of the cryptid world, and in my opinion. My eyes burning. Sorry. But we're going to start with SasquatchChronicles.com. This, of course, is Mr. Wes Germer's site, and he puts out some great stuff here. So definitely another site. All these sites support, but, definitely want to re-encourage everybody to check out the blog, because I know many of you listen to Wes's podcast, but if you're not checking out the blog, you're missing a lot of stuff. So anyway, well, let's go to Sasquatch Chronicles blog, which is here. And we're going to get into a story here from April 20th. It's today old. Here it is, Allegheny National Forest screams. Now, obviously, most of these listener emails that Wes receives, seem to center around the Sasquatch phenomena for obvious reasons. His show is Sasquatch Chronicles, but Wes does cover a lot of strange phenomena, a lot of other things. Why was I not able to spit that out? I don't know. All right, so let's check out these. The National Forest screams are obviously a real common thing in Bigfoots and cryptid circles. A listener writes, it was summer of 2010, and I believe in August, I was visiting with my younger brother. We go up a lot in the summer because it was the perfect place to go camping, kayaking, canoeing, swimming, hiking, basically anything you wanted to do outdoors. Well, yeah, it sounds beautiful. I've not been there, but it sounds beautiful. Since I grew up there, I'd always been comfortable by myself in the woods and often would take my kayak out and island hop over the course of a day. I'd also camp out on our property, though sometimes I'd get an eerie feeling and head back to the house early if I was alone. At the time, my only fear was really other people, as the property is right next to the road. Otherwise, it's mostly wooded and riverfront. But I'd wander the woods, lay out and swim and ride my four-wheeler, and I felt pretty safe because I'd always have one of our big dogs with me, and if closer to home, my dad or brother would come out and join me or check on me. But as far as the wildlife, the area has black bear, bobcat, coyote, fox, deer, etc., and we learned young how to behave when encountering such animals and have a healthy respect for them. The house itself is situated as a long rectangle with the longest side facing the river and the opposite side butting up to the road. On the far end of the house is my dad's room. In the middle is my brother's room, and My room is closest to the front door. All bedrooms are on the second floor. That night, our 2 dogs were outside in their pen, closest to my dad's side of the house. And we'd often let them be outside overnight if the weather was fine, but we'd also sleep with our windows open. In all my years living in this area, I'd learned what various nighttime sounds were as I'd drift off. Deer crossing the river, to the island, beaver tail slaps, fox calls, bear chuffs, and footfall. And I'd also learn people sounds in the woods and on the property because, again, people were the only thing I feared at the time. Everyone was in their rooms, in their beds, and it's absolutely pitch black at night because it's remote. And the only sound through my open windows was the river flowing by. Sometimes it's hard for me to fall asleep, so that night I was just laying there for a bit and staring up at the ceiling. At some point, I heard footfall. I was on alert thinking maybe someone had pulled into our driveway and was poking around our garage, but the location of our house is such that you can hear any car come or go. There's no way of just sneaking up on us. The footsteps were getting louder, and I could tell they were now coming towards the front door, right below my open window. Well, I started to calculate if I should run and get my brother, but my bed was old and creaked so loud that whatever was out there was close enough to definitely hear it. But before I could even process my thought fully, I heard the most blood-curdling, otherworldly scream I have ever heard in my life. It was long, loud, and came from the base of my window. I can only describe it as a person actively dying the most painful way imaginable, mixed with a roar and the depth and reverberation of a lion. Absolutely primal and horrifying. I froze completely solid, every muscle tensed. I genuinely feared that if I moved, whatever made that noise would easily break through my window and screen and get me. I knew it was big if it was close, and if it was close and it wasn't human or any animal that I knew. The dogs on the entire other side of the house had started barking right after the scream. What signaled to me that this was absolutely abnormal was the way they barked, frantic and fast. Normally our golden retriever was mellow, and our Great Pyrenees was a stoic and quiet softy. What they heard totally awoke a different instinct in them. The proximity of the screen and the dog's reaction kept me frozen in place. I didn't move the rest of the night. And thankfully, I think the dogs scared off whatever was outside my window. Early the next morning, I asked my brother and dad if they'd heard anything, and my brother described the same thing I'd heard, and my dad said he'd heard the dogs going nuts. His hearing wasn't the best, and also usually had the TV on low in his room. The rest of the trip, I refused to go anywhere near the woods, or even certain parts of the house or garage outside. My brother and I started researching animal noises, Bigfoot sounds, and tried to match and make sense of what we'd heard. We returned to my mom's a few days later. We came across the craziest recent, at the time, within about a week or so of our Pennsylvania trip, news story. A news station out of Liberty, Ohio, had reported mysterious screams heard in the woods. The report included audio that was as close to the awful scream we'd heard that night. We got goosebumps hearing it, and my stomach dropped. The story included a wildlife expert's response to the audio, that it was not explainable as a sound any animal known to science would make. That solidified in my head that it was probably a Sasquatch/Bigfoot. I used to be able to find the news report link and have shared it in the forums in the past, but unfortunately I haven't been able to track it down since. The closest to the sound I can find currently is the 1978 Snohomish, Washington screams, combined with the more recent, what is that, Conklin, Alberta screams? And it was one long, raw kind of vocalization. Well, there you go. God, that's got to be creepy. Just to be in your bed and you've got an open window and something's coming up to your door and it screams like that. Oh, and it just in that close proximity. Oof, that's horrifying. That is creepy, creepy stuff, but there's more. Because next up is not this one. It is this one. Not this one. Nope, not that one. We're going to talk about that one of these nights. I've had this article open forever, and I just thought, oh, that'd be kind of neat. Because a lot of times in ghost hunting, you get these huge price tags attached to some of this crazy gear. And it's like, you don't have to do that. You can do it much more affordably. But anyway, we'll talk about it another night. Don't want to really read this one. All right. This one I did kind of want to read. I don't know. Is this one too long? Let me look at the time. 29. It's a half hour. It's a pretty damn long. Oh, that's a pretty long story. I guess I could read it. It's an article from Phantoms and Monsters, and again, this is Lon Strickler's site. Lon has really done an exceptional job over here at phantomsandmonsters.com, and special thanks to him for letting us use his site as well. Lon is a podcaster as well, and has had Phantoms and Monsters forever. He's been in several documentaries and interviews and such. He's been on the Paranormal Portal a few times, and I always love talking to Lon. He's just one of those people that is really dialed in on a lot of this strangeness, and is great to talk to. So check out phantomsandmonsters.com. Check out all of the encounter stories that they have posted over there. You're going to be lost for weeks just going through it. It's just so incredible. But Lon is also an author, and you can find his published works as well as the Phantoms and Monsters Radio, which is his podcast and YouTube channel. So find it on YouTube, check it out, because Lon does live streams as well, where he talks about some of his stories and things that he's covered. And they also have research going on over there, where they look into a lot of this phenomena with his network of people affiliated with him. So it's pretty cool. All right. This is a long one, and it's not necessarily cryptids, but it's one I've had open for a while because I think it's a neat look around the world. And I assume, I don't know, I'm not, I guess Brunei is. It's Legends of Horror from the Sultanate of Brunei. And I don't know, I'm not even sure where this Brunei is, but I'm kind of geographically challenged. I'm not sure where all the states in this country are. So if that tells you anything. But anyway, let's get to this one. This is Tales of Horror from the Sultanate of Brunei. And I think it's a good look into, another culture and what they're experiencing. Individuals who have claimed to have encountered supernatural entities at different locations in the Sultanate of Brunei. Similar sightings can be traced back to the legends of old, centuries ago, but its true existence will forever remain a mystery. First one is the White Sands, are the first segment. The Bruneians nationwide are familiar with this urban legend. Countless tales of horror have been whispered in the air, and some experienced firsthand. The terrifying occurrences in this place. Peter, a local businessman, was more than happy to share his story, and it revolved around the White Sands leading up to. Road users often pass by this area when heading to the Belait district or neighboring Malaysia. Okay, so I guess it's near Malaysia. Peter claims that his close encounter happened on the eve of New Year as he traveled home to be with his family in Syria. Seria, not Syria, the country. Festive songs played on the radio, and he sang along to the medleys, grateful that he would finally spend New Year with his loved ones for the first time in 5 years. Not long after he reached the area, a disturbing sight caught his attention. Glancing at the counter clock, it was a little after I was. Why is she walking alone at this hour? I don't understand what I'm just reading. Peter asked himself, he must have seen someone walking and was like, why is this person walking alone? Peter asked himself. He stopped the car by the roadside and approached the seemingly oblivious woman who continued walking even after Peter called out to her. Concerned that the woman might need help or a ride, he attempted to speak to the woman. "Excuse me, miss, do you need help?" Peter asked. Well, she stopped walking and turned slowly towards him. Her long black locks covered her pale face as she gestured toward a junction and pointed to a deserted rest house nearby. Seeing as though something was amiss, Peter stepped back and asked, Are you all right? Are you heading that way?" The woman simply nodded. "Please let me give you a ride," he said, and opened the front passenger door for her. As he turned to face the woman, she suddenly disappeared and was nowhere in sight. Shivers ran down his spine as he stared at the pitch-black darkness, the silence becoming somewhat deafening. Instead of panicking, he drove off and continued his journey without ever looking back. "It frightened me out of my wits," Peter said before concluding his story. So, the old phantom hitchhiker or the phantom woman next to the road, it's a common, I don't want to say trope because it sounds dismissive, but it's a common occurrence in the paranormal. A lot of people experience these, I don't know, looking like these women that are walking in some of the most desolate areas, usually in like a white dress or some kind of dress and barefoot or in disheveled state, get out, ask for help. Sometimes the women get in the car and then tell them to go somewhere and they go there and the woman's not there anymore. And it happened to cab drivers a few times in a few stories we've covered. So, very interesting story. Here's another one, The Fisherman's Friend. A common pastime among people of all ages, this famous sport has provided an excellent opportunity for families and friends to bond and spend quality time together. Such was the intention of a young student who invited his friends for a boys' night out, fishing along one of the well-known rivers in the district. In this story, Kyrule recalls the horrifying events which occurred on that fateful night. As they set out on their journey at midnight, the group of three were feeling absolutely jubilant, having just completed their public examinations. The humid clouds which swelled above them did not look promising, and projected an impending thunderstorm. That, of course, failed to hinder the group's journey. After setting up their fishing rods, they decided to hunt for their quarry near the jetty and waited patiently for the rewards. It was dark, eerie night, and although my instincts told me something wasn't right, I didn't want to be a party pooper, Kyrule said. An hour or so passed when something tugged heavily at the fishing reel. "Guys, I think we caught something big." Samad shouted excitedly, but as he attempted to pull in the catch, he found nothing. "Well, maybe he didn't place the bait properly," Kyrule suggested. Sorry, these names are unfamiliar to me, so I'm just doing my best. Confused and bewildered by the strange episode, Samad took out a tackle box to replace his reel and used live prawns instead of worms. "Hope this'll work better," Samad said, and cast his bait into the river. Out of nowhere, a gust of cold wind blew gently in his direction. He turned his gaze towards Kyrule, who was just sitting quietly by the riverbank. "Hey, Kai, you all right?" But he received no response. What's wrong with this fella? Samad asked himself and decided to approach his seemingly quiet friend. And while he was talking to Kyrule, two men emerged from the parking lot, and at first, Samad thought that they were anglers looking to enjoy a fishing expedition, but as he looked closely, he noticed that the two men were none other than his buddies. If Kyrule is there, who in the world is beside me? Samad thought, and without thinking, he ran towards his friends without looking back. Samad's struggled to contain himself and was practically hysterical, and he told them about his ordeal, and instead of confronting him, they laughed. "There's no one there besides us. I think you watch too many horror films, my friend," Kyrul said. Furious and agitated, Samad marched into the parking lot and chose to wait for his ignorant friends in the car. The two continued fishing and were not at all bothered by the incident. As they laughed away at the jokes and tales of their youth, they were distracted by what seemed to be 1,000 flickering sounds. To their amazement, a shoal of fish splashed furiously against the water, as if sending a signal, and at that instant, something tugged at their fishing reel, but instead of catching a big fish, as they had anticipated, an amputated head hung on their hook, covered in dark, murky slime. Shahrul instantly tossed the rod into the river and watched as the head floated towards the jetty. The two stood frozen in their tracks as they caught sight of a supernatural being dressed in black sitting by the jetty without a head. It then leaped into the water and crawled to shore before vanishing into the woods. Without hesitating, the two ran towards their car, leaving their equipment behind. Samad was sleeping contentedly in the back seat as they drove off. They returned home. The return home turned out to be a bizarre odyssey as they began hearing disembodied voices coming from the back. As the two boys turned around, they saw the paranormal entity clinging to the back of the vehicle. That's gotta be a creepy thing. Shahrul turned on the radio and recited prayers to ward off the spirit. None of the three coveted to sleep alone that night. I don't know what that means. I guess they just couldn't sleep alone that night. This episode has triggered months of restless nights for us, and sometimes we sense a strange presence, especially when either three of us are alone. We have definitely learned a lot from this, and we'll probably go fishing only in the afternoons, Kyrul said, before concluding the group's terrifying tale. Yeah, that's horrifying. All right. Here's a vampire story, apparently. The Haunted Highway. Pontiacs, or vampires, are basically the most notorious group of paranormal entities, and their popularity is evident through their portrayals in horror films and fiction movies. And in this story, Ahmad, a man in his mid-20s, claims to have encountered these strange entities while driving home from Tutong Town. This unfortunate incident triggered months of restlessness and paranoia, yet here he recalls the sequence of events leading up to that fateful night as he faced his worst nightmare. Driving down the highway, Ahmad tried to adjust his focus and eyes on the road as fatigue and lethargy took control of his body. The long working hours at his new job had taken its toll and left him practically exhausted. After several failed attempts to keep himself awake, Ahmad finally gave in and decided to stop at the side of the road to get some shut-eye before continuing his journey. As he turned to make a stop, his eyes caught sight of a strange-looking object in the middle of the road that seemed to resemble a log, but simply shrugged it off as nothing out of the ordinary. However, as Ahmed peered closer at the weird object, he could make out some facial features, but it was too dark to tell whether his imagination was beginning to run wild. Despite the warning, which echoed in his mind to run away, he simply refused to steer clear of whatever it was on the road. Curiosity got the better of him as he took out a torchlight out of the glove compartment to investigate what it really was. As Ahmad approached the object, it laid so disturbingly still as if waiting to strike. He suddenly stood frozen in his tracks as the mysterious object lifted its head slowly in his direction and let out an ear-piercing cry. Fear overtook the very core of Ahmad's mind, and he knew instantly what the strange object was. He struggled to summon his inner strength to face the terror staring at him in the eye. This was something that you could only see in horror films, Ahmad said. He watched the terror unfold as the paranormal entity, commonly known as Pontiacs to the locals, crawled to the side of the road and began creeping towards a lamppost. Within split seconds, it swiftly moved across towards him, and he could see all he could do was recite prayers to ward off the spirit. The Pontiac stared at him intently before disappearing into thin air. The memory of such a disturbing image to this day seems difficult to erase, and he's changed his philosophy on the existence of the paranormal entities. I think it's a good idea to share my experiences with fellow readers on this issue. Whether they choose to believe it or not is, of course, up to them. However, this is not something you simply make up. It took me quite a while to try and forget this horrifying incident, but I decided to instead use it as a lesson in life, he said, before concluding his story. Is this the last one? Yeah, this is the last one, The Uninvited. All right. Legends of old have it that an individual who possessed a fragile spirit will most likely encounter supernatural entities, and although no evidence of such a claim exists, some have unfortunately experienced it firsthand for reasons they can't fathom. This story revolves around an American expatriate who was kind enough to share his ordeal before leaving the country for good. David loved Brunei and was considered it as a second home. He even planned to settle down with his then fiancée living in Kuala Belait, and thus frequently traveled back and forth to visit his better half. Working in a highly demanding field which required every ounce of his expertise, commuting from the capital to the Belait district daily was painstaking and inconvenient, but he longed to put a balance between his work and fiancée. Days and sometimes even months at a time, the pressuring demands of his career began to take its toll on their relationship. One fateful night, they got into a heated argument, and his fiancée threatened to to off herself. Sad. After several attempts to call her hand phone, which went unanswered, he grabbed his car keys and drove hastily to Kuala Belait. "Please answer the phone, please," David pleaded. He then began blaming himself should anything unforeseen happen to his fiancée, and could not imagine life without her. He then approached the one-lane road and focused on the dark, eerie highway where no street lamps were erected, and suddenly the radio reception started to deteriorate, and David simply thought it was just due to the location. After a few minutes later, the car engine began to quiver and decelerate from a 120 to 80 kilometers per hour. What in heaven's name could possibly go wrong? He exclaimed as it was a brand new car. "Do not break down here, please, of all places," David said while glancing around at the pitch-black darkness without a single soul in sight. He pulled himself together and tried to dismiss all negative thoughts coming to mind as he attempted to lean on the armrest, and David caught sight of what seemed to be a shadow in the corner of his eye. Without thinking, he turned to confirm his worst fear, and indeed, there was a weird figure sitting beside him in the front passenger seat. The entity's long black strands of hair covered its face as she repeatedly let out blood-curdling laugh. Shivers ran down his spine, and 1,000 thoughts raced through his businessman mind. Given the fact that he was a free thinker, no religion or prayers could save him then, as he knew none. David thought about calling someone, practically anyone, but his phone was in the middle of the dashboard, and terrified that the entity would grab his hands, he continued driving, hoping, praying that a street lamp would appear with some visible signs of life. A few minutes on, Dave's instincts sent a warning jolt through his body. He could sense that the spirit was staring at him, and his heart raced with sheer trepidation. Straight ahead, visible strokes of light could be seen, and he stepped on the gas pedal, hoping to reach the area before something happened to him. That seemed to only make things worse. With the streetlights, he could clearly see the uninvited passenger. The events that followed would remain embossed in his memories forever. The spirit extended its arm to grab his shoulders. He immediately stepped on the brakes and ran out of the car. David refused to turn around for fear that it was nearby, but decided to fight his fear after remembering his fiancée. After I saw it was gone, I went back into my car and drove off like never before, David said. After reconciling with his fiancée, he retold his frightful story and later discovered that the entity was in fact a Pontianak. And this has altered my complete outlook in life, and I now refuse to travel anywhere alone. If it's 3 a.m, he said, he said while giggling, but behind the laughter, the impact of that encounter could be visibly seen through his eyes. Yeah, the Pontianak, yeah. That's creepy, creepy stuff. It sounds like a very physical thing, but how the hell to get in the car? You know? How to get in there? So it sounds spiritual, but physical, but spiritual. I don't know. I don't know, dudes. It's just the weirdness that is the paranormal. So anyway, I don't know what we're doing for time. It's got to be pretty close. Yeah, I mean, we're down to like the last few minutes, unbelievably. It goes so quick. God, it goes fast. Could talk. I don't know what we could talk about here. With just a few minutes left, there's not enough time to get into another article. Let me just refresh this one and see what it is. It's possible we could read a short one here if I can find one. You never know how it's all going to work out with the timing. But Chucky, Rachel, Maggie, River Morris is here. How you doing, River Morris? Good to see you. Thanks for coming in and checking out the portal. This is a new name. I don't think I'm familiar with it. Ooh, cooey from us Yowie mob down under. Very cool. Getting a lot of representatives from Oz in here, and that's wonderful. We've got a lot of wonderful, listeners and friends from Oz. You guys are great. You guys are great in Australia. In fact, one of my bucket list items for the portal is to make journeys to Oz. I'd love to not only look into some of the phenomena down there, but just to visit with Cade and Dean and Gary and Sarah and, visit all these wonderful people that I've come to know and love through the years. There's so many wonderful people there. And, I definitely want to make that journey when I can. I don't know why this page won't load. Maybe something happened. It was chilling Bigfoot encounters in Mount Rushmore, but it just will not load. It's being particular. Maybe something's going on Phantoms and Monsters there. How long is this one? This one I could probably do. I'll probably do this one. This is it's not a long story. It's from Phantoms and Monsters, April 12th, 2024. And it has to do with Bigfoot, so it's a good one to close out the Cryptid corner with. Yuck, yeah, heck yeah. This is Taipan. I always encourage the strange and paranormal, I think. Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just looking at pieces of conversations, trying to understand what are you guys talking about. Sometimes it doesn't work out as well as I'd hope. Not anything wrong with what you're talking about, but looking at just fragments going, oh. All right, here we go. There's the story from Phantoms and Monsters. This will be our last one tonight. Bigfoot frightens Northampton County, Pennsylvania boy in garden. Here's another case where, they're in a garden. Obviously, this picture looks like a kid running through corn. I don't know if that's relevant to the story or not, but let's read it. A Northampton County, Pennsylvania boy was in the family garden picking vegetables when he noticed a dark reddish-brown face staring back at him. When it smiled at him, he took off frightened. Now, I'm trying to visually understand in my mind, is it really a smile? Now, here's the thing. I don't think Bigfoot is a quote-unquote primate in the animalistic sense. I think that there's much more to them, that they're not just, working on largely on their instinct. I think that's, they have a lot of cognitive processes. They're intelligent. And I think animals are really intelligent too, much more than we give them credit for. But I think that's Bigfoot may be somewhere in our neighborhood. And so, but I think of the face and the depictions of that face. And then I try to think about it smiling. And even if it's meant to be a sweet gesture, it could be a horrifying one. Now, I will say that, in primates like chimpanzees and gorillas, and I don't know about gorillas, but definitely with chimpanzees and other monkeys, if they show you their teeth like a smile, it's because they're extraordinarily agitated. Like they're just more like gritting their teeth. It's not a good sign. If you ever see a chimpanzee or other primate like that showing its teeth, that's not a good sign generally. Now, I think they can, be trained to, show their teeth and get a reward for it. I'm not talking about, those trained animals. I'm talking about, the wild ones. So, is a Bigfoot showing its teeth a sign of, hey, I'm fine, you're fine? Or is it, I wasn't expecting you here. What the hell are you doing here? Is it a real agitated warning sign? So, I wouldn't know how to take that. And even if it was a kind, loving looking, intended gesture, it may still look extraordinarily frightening because you're already seeing something that you've probably never seen before, and it's smiling at you. And that might not blend together real well. But let's see what it says. I received the following account. It was late in the 1970s in Northampton County, Pennsylvania, not far from the Lehigh River, as it was summer around noon, bright sunny day. The area where the sighting occurred is now developed, but used to be brushland and sparse forest. Growing up, my family grew a large vegetable garden to help feed our family, and it was at the edge of a large backyard about 10 feet from the brush line. Groundhogs raided it for food, and so I had a small fence around it, which didn't stop them, honestly. One day when I was a kid, my mom sent me out to the garden alone to fetch vegetables for lunch. I started picking when I noticed a face staring at me from the brush, about chest high to an 8-year-old. The face was dark reddish brown, covered in hair, a large forehead, and a short, flat, and wide nose with black eyes. It was as large as my torso, and human-like, but more animal than human. Well, not sure what I was seeing, I walked up to it, and stayed inside the fence, and stared at it. It stared back without moving. Well, after a while, with the face staying motionless, I remembered what my mom wanted me to do and got back to picking vegetables. But I noticed the face was still watching me as I was in the garden. Well, that's a brave kid. When I finished picking vegetables, I walked back to the face and stared at it. The face stared back, unmoving. At this point, I'd convinced myself that the face must be an illusion of some sort, and I was just fooling myself. What else could it be? So I smiled in relief, and the face smiled back. Oh. Only when it smiled, it had long, pointed canine teeth. Well, that doesn't sound like a Bigfoot. I did what any kid would do. I dropped my basket of vegetables and ran screaming at the top of my lungs back inside the house. My mom and brother went outside to the garden. Dad was running errands, and the face was gone. It was a long time before I'd go out in the garden alone again. I've never seen Bigfoot again, and I live in a major city now, but I want to go back to the forest to find it again someday. Yeah, I mean, there you go. I don't know about the pointed teeth, though. I'm not saying it's impossible, of course. There's some version of Bigfoot that are claimed to have more very sharp teeth, like canid teeth. The Gugwe being one of them. Of course, it could be a dog man. Who knows? But it didn't. Obviously, it didn't sound like a dog man description with the flat hooded nose, wide hooded nose. So it sounds like a Bigfoot face, but the pointed teeth is a curiosity for sure. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. Could it be a memory glitch? Maybe. Could be. Maybe just that it terrified him. So over time, those teeth became sharper and sharper because it felt like a risk. I don't know. It's funny what our minds can do, and I'm not trying to poo-poo this experience at all, but at the same time, so many witness reports, they describe sometimes of them having, sharpened canine teeth, but generally speaking, the rest of their incisors and bicuspids and such are described as like white chiclet gum. They're like blocks. So I'm not sure what a mouthful of sharp teeth, what that would be, but it sounds very unusual. But, again, I'm not questioning that the kid saw something and had obviously a very terrifying experience. But anyway, that's the story, and we're sticking to it, folks. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, okay? I know it was a less eventful show by and large. I do the best I can. But hopefully you guys had a good time anyway and enjoyed the stories and information and discussions. I think it's wonderful. And again, I always just really love doing these shows because, this is me living my dream. So, and I'm really thrilled that so many of you come in and hang out with me. So keep doing that and keep spreading the word. Let other people know about us. So that's going to wrap it up for the portal tonight, folks. I'm kind of raspy tonight. I'm running out of voice. I think I'm fine from that last illness, but I've noticed that my allergies are definitely kicking up because the leaves are sprouting here, which is awesome. And with that comes a whole crap load of pollen. And so I think that's what's going on now. I'm kind of dry and raspy. So at any rate, watch for the new podcast Sunday. Actually Monday. Watch for it Monday because I'll release it probably around midnight on Sunday night. So that'll be coming out. And otherwise another live show on Wednesday. And we'll keep pounding them out. Hopefully you'll keep showing up. Continue, please, to keep liking, subscribing if you're not. Hit the bells so you know when we go live. But we do live shows Wednesday night, Friday night, Saturday night here on all these streaming platforms. So hope you'll continue to join us and join in. But that's all the steam I got for you tonight. I got a big day tomorrow. Lots of busyness. Not a big day and like anything cool. It's just I got a lot of crap to do tomorrow. So it's going to be one of those days. So anyway, remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day and remember to laugh as much as you can. And continue to let people know about the Paranormal Portal. Share these shows and share them to groups that you're in that deal with the paranormal. Maybe other people will be happy they found us too. So anyway, guys, that's it. Take care. Thank you, Maggie. Great show. Scary stories. I appreciate it. Thank you, David. Good night, Chucky. Thank you, brother. Good night, Barbara. And everybody. Thank you all for being here. But it's time for the credits. So until next time, guys, take care of yourselves. See ya.